I would resort to pornography, post my own videos onto Pornhub. I'm starting to go to massage parlors, 18 years old, paying for sex, doing all these crazy things. I thought I was the only one struggling with this. I'm going to be extremely open and honest about the things that I've struggled with in my own life. How my porn addiction intensified in the deep, dark rabbit holes that led me to start to pay for sex, make my own videos, and really have this huge problem in my life that nearly ruined my life. And the reason why I'm making this video, despite all of the pushback that I have and resistance to make this, is because millions of men are struggling with a silent, secret addiction. They have this double life that they guard and keep secret that they don't want anyone to know. And because of that, they stay stuck. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you that deep, dark rabbit hole that people do not talk about. That is the truth of the porn and sex industry, to really shine light to this whole thing. So let's dive in. Now, this entire rabbit hole started when I was in middle school and I first started watching pornography. And I think this is something that unfortunately a lot of guys nowadays face, where they get introduced to it at a very young age and it has these lasting effects. So there's so many guys that I've personally spoke to who had it start at a young age, but they never really understood the effects until much later. They just thought it was an innocent thing. It was very pleasurable. It just kind of opened up their eyes to this new world. And because of that, they continued to go and seek it. And that was very true for my own life, where I was using it as a way to experience a lot of pleasure, obviously, but I was too naive to understand that it was much deeper than that and was affecting me on a deeper level. I started to use it as a way of escapism, especially going into high school and while I was in high school. So now, instead of just using it as some way to get a little bit of pleasure and kind of, have this dopamine hit, I'm doing it in a way to escape some of my pains in my life. If there's any pain or discomfort like boredom, stress, loneliness, wanting of intimacy but not having it, I would resort to pornography. And obviously this is a very big problem because this is only symptom management. I'm not actually solving the problem that's going on in my life. I'm suppressing the symptoms that I'm feeling. And this is where pornography started to take, a bigger toll in my life. It was no longer this kind of vanilla thing that I did here and there, and it wasn't too serious. It was a real big issue that started to intensify. I started to watch it more frequently, and the videos that I was watching was far more intense. Sometimes I would stop watching and be like, what am I doing? Like, what am I watching? Like, this is not, I get that post-nut clarity. And this is something that happened to me at a very young age. And so I didn't really understand that it was wrong. I didn't really understand the effects, and unfortunately this is the standard that men face today. And I started to view women completely differently. I viewed them as objects to be desired. I only viewed them as, sexual things, and it really made me suffer within my own dating life because of that. I didn't see him as a human. I therefore couldn't connect on a deeper level. Going into COVID, that's when things really took a dark turn. I don't know how many of you guys can relate to this, but during COVID, I had a lot of downtime, a lot of boredom. And because of that, I needed to be able to find an escape from that boredom. So despite working out 2 or 3 hours a day, I needed something else to do. So this is where pornography really ramped up in frequency. And I'm watching it all day, every day. And I'm even starting to post my own videos onto Pornhub. And I was such in a bad spot that I would link my different Snapchat to that profile and to those video titles, and people were adding me by the dozen every day. I think I started to get people in the hundreds adding my Snapchat every single day. And I was selling my own videos, and I was also speaking to women on there who were much older and women that were very attractive. And it was something that was very pleasurable to me. It was a good escape because at this point, I'm not going to be able to go out and, improve my dating life. I'm not really in a position to do that. It's COVID, right? So I'm very lonely, and this is a good way to find that feeling of intimacy and connection, but I'm doing it in a way that's very messed up and not good at all. And that went on for a couple months. And during this time, I felt immense numbness, the shame and the guilt that I was experiencing on a day-to-day basis. I learned how to internalize that. I learned how to deal with it better. And I started to separate myself from the feelings and how I would react react to it on a real internal level. I was just so numb to everything. I started to get very irritable around people, really pissed off because of the things that I'm doing and all the wasted energy and time and just constantly relapsing day in, day out. Like, it was a real problem for me. And I felt so lethargic and so lazy and unmotivated. I felt like my entire life force was out of my body, like I had nothing there. That really made me just feel so weak as a man. But instead of changing and doing anything about it, I would double down on my self-destructive behavior and continue to go and act out again. How many of you can relate to something like that? Despite all of the pain and discomfort that this is bringing you, instead of actually changing anything, you just double down. So after that all-time low and feeling terrible and unconfident and pissed off and lethargic, I really committed to change. And I'm starting to fight these urges. I'm getting over it. It felt like hell, like withdrawal symptoms. I felt terrible some days, just constantly fighting these desires. But I was really trying to create separation. And it was so difficult. It felt like the only way that I was able to get over these urges was by giving into it and just by going and acting out again. So going into my senior year, I started to take a even darker toll. You know, I've created a lot of separation. In fact, I've gone like 100 days clean at one point, which was a huge thing in my own life, but I fell back into it due to the escapism, and I fell back very hard. I'm watching videos on, sex workers. I'm watching people record themselves going to massage parlors and stuff like that. And there's a brand new idea that I had, and I knew that this was something that I could do. After graduating, I'm starting to go to massage parlors. And for those who don't know, these are basically brothels that are all throughout America, all throughout Europe. And it's like the legal loophole to having like a real brothel be banned, and it's just in a form of a massage parlor. And during this time, I got hooked immediately. There's a lot of fear and anxiety going and doing these things. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was bad, but I could not stop myself. I felt like I got stuck into this trance. One day, I just was researching around town, see a place that I can go to, and I felt like just something just took over. Like the flesh, the body, it was in control. I was no longer in control of myself, and I was not able to stop myself despite knowing that this is something that will lead to a lot of pain down the road. And I went and acted out. I felt anxious. I felt so fearful. I felt bad about doing it. But on the other side of things, I felt so excited. I wanted the pleasure, and I wanted to go and give into it. And I went to a massage parlor one day. I got their services, and I was immediately hooked. It was far more pleasurable than pornography. It was far more pleasurable than I did at leading up to this moment. And that same day I got hooked. I went to another place later that day, and I blew $600 in one day. Hard-earned money. And I blew it at these massage parlors, and it was worth it for me in my eyes. I could not imagine that this was a possibility. I was so excited. I felt like, wow, this is such an amazing thing. Like, looking back on it, I was naive, and I had a real messed up view, and I had a real problem. But in the moment, it was something that just brought me so much pleasure, and I was hooked. That summer, I spent around $1,500 on escorts and at these massage parlors, and it brought immense shame and guilt in my life. I felt so numb to the pain. I felt hopeless at times. It destroyed my confidence. I felt terrible, and I'm at this new all-time low. There's this cycle of resisting urges, resisting temptations, going 100 days clean after I had this real intense, really bad battle with pornography and, posting videos online. And then I fall back into it, and now I'm paying for sex. Like, this whole thing is intensifying. I'm doing greater and greater and greater things to try to quit. And I'm doing greater and greater and more intense things when I fall back into the temptation and back into the addiction. Now, this is what people do not talk about. This rabbit hole right here, and this fight and this battle that people have is something that people will never admit that they have. But it is so widespread. But in that moment, because there's no one in my life to tell me that that was normal and people were struggling with the same thing, I felt like I was the only one. 18 years old, paying for sex, doing all these crazy things. I thought I was the only one struggling with this. I felt such like an outcast. I was living this double life. I felt guarded. I felt trapped. I couldn't share these things to other people. Because of that, I isolated myself. I was not me. I was putting up a front. And it got to a point where I'd go and look at myself in the mirror, and I could not look at myself the same way. I did not recognize that person. I questioned who I was. And I thought this dark side of me, that this thing that was in my life that wanted me to go and act out and do these things, I began to think that that was the real me. The me that I was and presented to the world and to other people in my life. That was a fake and that was a fraud and I was a hypocrite. That's some dark stuff. That's some deep, crazy things that I would not wish on anybody else. But it was a reality for me. And I did not know how to deal with that. And my only way of living in that pain was to push it away and repress it and not deal with it. And instead double down on my sexual acting out behavior to get some pleasure and get escape. Now, that summer I had 2 near-death experiences. I should have died. I should have died twice. And in the second one, it was a boat crash. 5 minutes before, I saw a cloud in the sky that looked like an angel. And I began to think about this new chapter in my life, going to college, and I have this new reset in my life. I was like, wow, like God's with me. Like that's a sign. That's cool. 5 minutes later, we hit rocks. Somehow we all survive. Somehow the boat is not taking on any water, and we continue back home. Now, there's another experience a couple months before that, and I really felt like I should have died twice. Therefore, I have evidence that I am here for a reason. And I'm going to have a brand new reset when I go off to university and things will change. I begin to have some hope. I begin to feel better about where I'm going. And because of that, I take more and more action to try to remove myself from this vice and from this addiction. And I did for a while. I went about 2 months clean. I had gone from the start of that incident to going to university. Got off on a great start. Made a lot of friends. Very vocal, talkative in my classes. Made a lot of friends. Was doing great with my dating life. I was in a great position. I was very happy with the life that I've built up. And I was able to sustain that for some time. But slowly and very surely, I started to creep back into this addiction. I started to fall back into it. Started to watch porn here and there. Look some things up. Look around the city to see if there's any massage parlors. Call them up here and there to see, what they do. Talk to them a little bit. About after, those 2 or 3 months, I fell back into it. And I went and acted out again at a massage parlor. And all hell broke loose. And again, I was in that cycle of doing so much to try to quit and to create so much separation. And then I fall back into it. And it gets even worse than it was beforehand. Like these 2 polarizing extremes are just getting more and more intense. I tried so hard to quit and then I fell back into it and it got out of control. So now I'm going to these places. I'm spending my last dollars on these places, going and acting out at these brothels, paying for sex, paying for OnlyFans, doing all these things that made me feel so bad. It made me isolate. I was not as confident. I felt like I was living this double life. I felt like a fraud. I was unhappy with the way that I was controlling things. And because of that, I abolished that new life that I built for myself. I completely got rid of it. I just ran from it because I felt so shameful and so guilty about the things that were going on in my life. That rabbit hole continued. I continued to fall back into it. Every time I tried to climb my way out of it, I spiraled right back into it. Despite how hard I tried to fight these urges, despite how hard I tried to improve my life, I still fell back into it. And now I'm going to these places, knowing that I do not have the money to be able to tip them. Getting myself caught up in tricky situations where I go and get services from these ladies that are sex trafficked, by the way, which is terrible to think about. And I can't even pay them afterwards. So I'm getting myself in trouble. I'm getting myself yelled at. Just to think back now, like, man, like I was playing with fire right there. Like I could have gotten some serious trouble, and I'm glad I didn't. And it brought me to so many dark places. I felt so bad afterwards. As you can imagine, the shame and guilt, I did not want to live. I did not want to live my life. I was a pussy. I was not going to kill myself, but I did not want to be alive. I thought I didn't have a purpose. I thought I would never change. I thought this is just how it is now. And I thought I threw away a life that I genuinely enjoyed and genuinely loved, all at expense for doing these things that I hated, but I could not stop. I was hopeless. And it brought me to even darker places than that, going into that second semester. And even after I dropped out of college to start to make an online business, not this one, a different one. It brought me to places that I will not even speak about. Imagine that. How open and honest am I about this whole thing? I'll be dead honest about this. Do not hold anything back, but there's still things that I will never share and never tell people. Ever. And this is the rabbit hole that affected my life. I would not wish this on anybody. And unfortunately, this is a widespread issue. The amount of people that I've spoken to personally, I've had over 1,000 consultations at this point of guys who are in marriages, of guys who are in relationships, of guys who are single, guys who are all from different walks of life, creeds, religions, nationalities, having these same problems of experiencing this deep dark rabbit hole that porn has led them to go and pay for sex, pay for OnlyFans, pay for campsites, go to strip clubs, pay for escorts, massage parlors, brothels, start to cheat on their wives, just do these things that they knew were wrong, they knew were bad for them, but they did it anyways, and they were not able to stop. Every time they resisted, they fell back into it and the loop continued. Now, this is the reality of things. This is what the porn industry is doing to people. This is what the sex industry wants. They want customers that continue to come back, and so many men now are hooked to this, but they will not speak about it. This is a widespread issue, and just in the US, I can confidently say there are millions of men who are struggling with this. So many people. There are twice as many happy ending massage parlors that are verified with reviews from people who've been there than they're all McDonald's in the United States of America. Let that sink in. There are more brothels in America than there are McDonald's, far more, and there's so many more that are not even known about or on any websites that you can even find. You have to just be so deep in this rabbit hole to even know that they exist. It is a widespread issue. The sex industry is one of the biggest out there, and it is destroying the lives of so many people, and this is why I want to create the movement of how to expose this industry so people don't have to be in chains, so people can have better relationships, better intimacy, be more confident, and be closer to God. Because this is something that just destroys lives, destroys marriages, and destroys people's lives. People have died over this. Suicide. There's been murders over this. Look at the one in Atlanta, Georgia. It brings so much pain and discomfort to people. It broke me mentally. It broke me. And I never thought I would be able to break out of this. And maybe I'll make another video about how I did that specifically. But this is the norm. This is the thing that people do not speak about, but is so widespread. And if you're watching this video right now and you relate to the things that I'm saying, you have a similar story to having this dark rabbit hole of lust and porn and the sex addiction that I'm talking about, and you feel hopeless and depressed and you don't even maybe want to live, feel like it's destroying your career and doing so many terrible things to your life, know that there is a way out, but you got to be able to get help. You got to be able to get assistance on this. This is something that cannot stay in silence. This is something that cannot be left alone and pushed away. The only way to break out of this is to take drastic action and bring this to the light, to be able to put yourself in a position to get the help that you need and actually talk about some of these things and be open and honest about it so you can break free. And if you're someone who supports this movement, what I want you to do is to be able to just like the video and subscribe. This movement is something that I'm creating to destroy the porn and sex industry, to help men break free to have a better life. And if you're aligned with this movement and you genuinely want help from someone who has been there, done that, and conquered this, and be hand in hand with other brothers who are walking towards freedom as well, what I want you to do is go down the link below and book a call with me so we can have a consultation to look at what's going on in your life to see if I can help you achieve freedom. So go through my content, go like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all boys in the next one.